Okay, let's begin. Welcome to CSIT 4830 and CS 7830. This is Advanced Web Development, or the technical name is Web Application Development 2. This is a sequence from 2830. So hopefully you've taken 2830. Some students are coming right from 2830 from last semester. Some students have taken it before. Doesn't really matter. As long as you have some web development skills, you should be okay. On Thursday, we're going to be setting up servers on Amazon AWS. So hopefully you kind of remember that from 2830, and we could just go ahead and get going. On Thursday, I'm going to go through the whole process, and that's essentially going to be the challenge. So on Thursday, I was talking about having the 2 monitors set up ready to go so you can follow along, because on Thursday, if you can follow along, that's about 80% of the challenge that we're going to do in the lecture. So the lectures are very important. Let me see. It doesn't look like my screen's being shared. Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see Canvas here? Okay, well, I don't know why it doesn't show it on mine, but thanks, everybody. So, yeah, on Thursday, try to have a good setup where you can watch me and follow along. We were talking earlier, some students were using their phone, although their phone is pretty small. So I try not to do your phone, but if you had to, you could. You can use a tablet, a TV. If you had 2 monitors, that'd be the best. Maybe you have another laptop or a desktop. You could use actually 2 machines. Whatever you need to do, have it set up where you can follow me on one side and code on the other, because the lectures will be very valuable, as you've known from 2830 or 3330 and all the other classes that you've taken with me. Today, we're going to go over just the flow of the course, the syllabus. I'm going to show you a cool, like a framework library you could use for presentations. And if we have enough time, we'll get into a little bit of server development, Amazon AWS. So open up Canvas if you can follow along today. Open up Canvas and try to take some notes. Like I said earlier, I'm going to give out answers for the first quiz. If you can't watch my screen and follow along, just watch my screen and try to take down some notes. That'll be good enough for today. Okay, so Canvas is set up a little bit differently. The home page is actually the modules page. So everything's in modules. The top modules, course information, now stay up there all semester. And then module 0, it's kind of an introduction module. So what Mizzou Online is asking me to do is, I used to put them in descending order. Now they have to be in ascending order. It's kind of a pain because when we get to the middle of the semester, you have to keep scrolling down. But what's nice about ascending order is when I click on a page and then I click on, you'll see down here, it has the next button down here at the bottom. If I click on the page, I can click on next, and it actually goes to the next page. And when I get to the end of this module, it'll actually hop to the next module. So that's one good thing about having them in ascending order. So I have to keep them in ascending order, but instead of having to scroll, instead of having an infinite scroll, you can actually close this module up. So you'll see a little arrow here. Once you're done with module 0, you can close it up. And of course, Canvas is lagging, so wait a little bit. Okay, I'm going to close it up. Come on, you can do it. There it goes. Okay, so I closed it up, and now it's just shows the title. When you're done with module 1, you can close that up. Module 2, close that up. That way you don't have to scroll as much. Okay, so they have to be in ascending order, and you can close the module up when you're finished. Under the course information, you're going to see the syllabus, and then office hours and TA information and challenge schedule. These are the most important things. Let's go ahead and open up the syllabus. So you can click on the PDF. Okay, go ahead and download a copy, keep it for yourself. Try to write some notes here. I'm going to give out some quiz question answers. Okay, I just entered full screen. Can everybody still see my screen and see the syllabus here clearly? Let's see. Hold on a second. Something just hopped up. The heck is that? Somebody hacking me right now? Hold on a second. What the heck's that doing? Go away. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, can you guys see the syllabus right now? I don't know if you guys can still see it with the full screen. Okay, I'm getting some yeses. Okay, let's continue. So we're in fall 2020. Due to COVID, I have to have this as an online course. It's called online synchronous. So we still have a scheduled time to meet, but it'll be online via Zoom. Now, a lot of students may be disappointed with this, but actually, we experienced both last semester. So last semester, I started off in person. Coronavirus hit. I had to go online. I asked the students at the end of the semester, a majority of them actually preferred online because then they could log in from wherever. They were in Kansas City for the day. They logged in. Next day, let's say they're at the lake, whatever, wherever you guys are, you can be anywhere. So they like that. They also thought it was more of a one-on-one experience. You don't have kind of the distractions of the classroom. It's just me and you on the computer screen. But there's some bad things to that. When you're on Zoom, you really have to disable other things like Facebook, your messages. All of a sudden, you get a text message in and you start messaging everybody. And then all of a sudden, I moved past an important point and now your code is stuck. Okay, because you just looked off the screen just for 30 seconds. So during the lecture, really try to disable your notifications, close Facebook out, take away all the distractions and just focus on the lecture at that time, just like you would in class. If you can get rid of the distractions, then I believe you'll prefer online via Zoom. Okay, we're on Canvas just like before. Final exam. Students were asking me in emails, they said, how's 4830 going to be? I'm a little scared because 2830 was pretty difficult. 4830 is actually a little bit more laid back. Okay, the exam is basically like if you took 2830, if you remember the practice exam, or if you were in class, we had the online final exam and the in-class final exam. The final exam for this course will be like the practice final exam. Okay, we'll talk more about the exam when we get to it, but I would say 4830 is more relaxed than 2830. The content is difficult, but the course is more relaxed. It's more research-based. For prerequisites, it's 2830. I'm pretty lenient on this. If you have a buddy who is trying to get in or a friend who is trying to get in and they didn't meet the prereq, have them email me and we can try to work something out. Okay, I'm Professor Wergeles. If you're meeting me for the first time, Wergeles. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but hopefully you can get used to it. We actually moved. We are in a new space in Lafferty. It's a beautiful space, but I can't be there because of COVID. So on one end, I'm happy we're doing online. On the other end, I can't wait to get back to my new office. But here's the location. Watch this. This would probably be a quiz question. Where's Professor Wergeles's office? And where is Professor Wergeles doing office hours? We're about to talk about that. So here's a quiz question. Where's Professor Wergeles's office? Here's another question. What's Professor Wergeles's email address? Okay, it's going to be cs4830@missouri.edu. I have a centralized email address for all my courses because it's an easier way to get a hold of everybody. If you have to remember my address, the TA's email address, and let's say I had 3 or 4 TAs, it just becomes difficult. So I have a centralized email address. Please reach out to me there. Okay, don't send one to my personal. Don't message me on LinkedIn. If you want to get a hold of me, message me right here, cs4830@missouri.edu. That's a quiz question. Okay, I use challenge-based learning. That's actually a requirement for Module 0. I'm going to bounce out of this syllabus, but you can just stay there. If you go back to Module 0, I have an introduction page. And on the introduction page, one of the requirements is to read challenge-based learning. I believe there's 1 or 2 quiz questions about challenge-based learning. So open up the PDF. I actually have a page for that for challenge-based learning. Just read what it is. I talked about it in 2830, so you should remember it. I'm not going to go over all the quiz questions, but I'll tell you where they are. And a few questions there are in challenge-based learning. Coming back to the syllabus. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go over here to the office hour information. And then I'll introduce myself a little bit more details. And then is Fung here? Let me see. Fung, are you here? Okay. Well, and then Fung will introduce himself. So let's go to office hour information. You could stay at the syllabus. If you want to jump over here to office hour information, you can. So there's 3 ways to get a hold of us for this course. If you took 2830 recently, you'll remember the app. It's called A Problem Solver. It's just like an anonymous Stack Overflow for the course. That's the first way to try to get a hold of us. If you can't get a hold of us on there, send us an email. If we're not responding to email, which we should, and we will also respond to the app, but worst case scenario, then come to office hours. So those are the 3 ways. That's a quiz question right there. So again, I'm Professor Wergeles. My office hours are Monday 1 to 2 and Wednesday at the developer night 6 to 7. Developer night will also be virtual. They said I can't have more than, I think it was 5 to 10 students in a room at the same time. So we have to follow social distance policies. My office hour and developer night will always be at this link. Okay, so here's the link. If you meeted me from the first time, I went to I got my undergraduate at UCM, University of Central Missouri. It's in Warrensburg. I then came to Mizzou for my graduate degree. UCM was a small school. I'm happy that it was a small school because when I first started CS, I really thought about dropping because it was very difficult. And I was close to my professors. They encouraged me. They said, Nick, stick with it. And once you get to your junior, senior year, you're going to be making apps. It's going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be. Because when you first start out in CS, you're taking, discrete mathematics and all this stuff. And you're thinking, what did I sign up for? But towards, later, like especially for this course, this is a 4,000 level course. We're going to be building a lot of apps in this course. So this is where the fun begins. Then I went to Mizzou for my graduate degree. I studied machine learning, artificial intelligence, published several papers, was going to conferences, and I was doing a TA, teaching assistant, research assistant. When I graduated, I actually was applying for Google, Facebook, all the big companies, and Mizzou reached out to me and they said, Nick, you got good feedback on teaching, being a TA. Do you want to teach? I talked to my dad. He said to go for it because I'll have a lot of time and that time is valuable. So I took the teaching position and then I had too much time. So I started my own business. It's called Streamline Technology Company. We do contracts for the state of Missouri. I built apps for University of Missouri, University of Pittsburgh. We have contracts with several private industry, leading competitors there. We do websites, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data, data science applications. Essentially anything technology people hire me to do. So hopefully you feel comfortable with me teaching the course. I get a lot of good reviews for this course. This is definitely a fun course, and we look at up-to-date technologies that will really help you get a job in the industry. Next, we have Feng. Maybe Feng, you can talk a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Feng Xiang, and you can call me Xiang. So I'm currently a second-year PhD student in computer science. My research areas are building a mobile-based data collection platform, and we are collaborating with some of other departments like psychologists. Like we build an app, and they can use our apps to our platform to make a survey to their participants. So our app is built like using Angular on the web-based, and we also support like Android and iOS part. So basically, there's so many similar stuff with this course in my research area. And also, I was the TA of 28 study last semester, and some of you may know me. Yeah, and it's very nice to meet you guys for this semester.
Very good. Thank you, Feng. His office hours will be Tuesday, 1 to
Actually,
4.
Wednesday.
Oh, did we change it to Wednesday?
No, we.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I have it messed up there. Yeah, Wednesday from 1 to 4, and on Friday, 4 to 6. Okay, here's his link. Although these links may change, I think mine will stay the same, but we're trying to set up Zoom in this Zoom tab here so you can actually see it on the calendar. Okay, Feng, you are welcome to stay or you're welcome to go, whatever you prefer. Okay, coming back to the syllabus. Let's see. We talked about teaching assistants. So getting help. I put this in here because, you know, some students will think, oh, I need to go talk to Professor Wergeles directly. What you should do is send an email to the course email and allow the TAs to give it a response. And if the TAs can't help you, then the TA will reach out to me and they'll say, Professor Wergeles, I can't figure this out. Could you look at the email? So don't feel like you have to come to me directly. And in fact, the app, we had a lot of success with the app in 2830 last semester. It's an app that I built. It's really basic. It's essentially just text right now, but I'm going to fix it where you can upload files and images and also code. I'm going to work on that after I get all the classes started up and on a good schedule. But the app, it's like Stack Overflow. We had a really good success with it last semester, so that's a good way to get a hold of us. But a lot of times students will say, hey, Professor Wergeles, you know, I emailed you on LinkedIn 2 months ago. Why haven't you responded? Well, the official way to get a hold of us is going to be email and in person during office hours. Okay, that's the official way to get a hold of us. The app is an extra tool. We are checking it very frequently. I think we respond to it probably the quickest. But the official way to get a hold of us is going to be email and in person. Okay, that's a quiz question right there. You can read the goal and the description. We're going to go over a lot of concept, cores, virtual machines, web servers. We're going to go over REST very heavily in detail. That's going to be the midterm exam is going to be a lot of REST, the protocol. We're going to look at data analytics. We're going to use version control. We're going to use Git and Git Classroom, GitHub Classroom. No textbook is required. Okay, just like for 2830, 3330, everything's going to be online documentation. Okay, but sometimes students like to read books. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any books over some of the tools we're going to be using, like Firebase. Although there may be, I don't know. We'll need to look. But if you want to buy a book, feel free to buy a book, but the textbook is not required. Okay, there's a big paragraph here. This is one of the quiz questions. So we're having virtual lectures this semester because we have a pandemic. And basically what this is saying is that the lectures and the videos that I produce will be used on exams and quiz questions or challenges. So the material in the virtual lectures and the videos that I post, they will be used for exams and other assignments. Okay, so that's what those big paragraphs are saying there. Attendance is required. Okay, so we're doing virtual lectures, but I expect you to come to class. And usually I will reward you for your attendance. So the students who are coming to class later in the semester, I try to give out bonus points for attendance. There's other ways to make up bonus points, but attendance is one of them. And I will be tracking the attendance. So I don't really have a sign-in sheet this semester because we're virtual, but at a random time in the lecture, I'll ask you to provide your name and paw print in the chat, so that we can track your attendance. Okay, so that will kind of be your sign in, so to speak. Just like in class, do the right thing. Don't have your buddy sign you in. If you're not able to show up that day, that's okay. You're not going to receive an F for missing one class. You can miss classes, that's okay. Try to be here as much as possible. So don't have any false signage. Just do the right thing. And usually, this is a very true statement. So usually the students who do well in my courses are the ones who are showing up for class. That's a known fact. If you show up to class, I'm giving you answers just like I'm doing now for the quiz, and you'll be prepared for the challenge, the quizzes, and the explorations. If you're not showing up to class, you won't have those answers, and the challenges and quizzes will be difficult for you. Okay, here's another quiz question talking about announcements. Okay, this quiz I'm going to post right after this lecture. So announcements are the most important way for me to get a hold of you. When I post an announcement on Canvas, it will be on Canvas here in the announcements tab on the left, but it'll also send you an email. What I recommend is to try to kind of put that email, I don't know what email it is, try to make it a VIP or make it a favorite. That way you make sure you get that email notification. A lot of times there'll be, let's say there's a bug with the challenge. And I say, hey, there's a bug with the challenge. Here's how you fix it. Or there may be a quiz question that is worded poorly. So I'll say, hey, here's the new quiz question wording. Use this, or here's a reference to use. And if you miss that notification, your grade may suffer because of that. So make sure you're really paying attention to the notifications for this class, the announcements for this class. Let's see, Francisco, can we ask you directly out of class questions? Answer when you have the chance, please. Can we ask you directly outside of class questions? All right, do you want to ask something right now, Francisco? Speaking of, okay, Francisco, yeah, you can definitely ask any questions. Speaking of, Francisco is doing the right way to ask a question. So at any time, feel free to unmute your mic and ask a question. They also here in Zoom, if you look, they actually have a way you can raise your hand. I'll try to pay attention to that, although it's kind of hard for me to see. You can actually raise your hand on the chat. You can say yes, no, ask me to slow down. I don't know if you see those over there, it's near the participants section. If you also have a question, you can put it in the chat. I'll try to be watching the chat, so you can just ask a question in the chat, and I'll pause. I'll read the question, and I'll try to answer it. So, like all of my other courses, this is more of a open conversation. Yeah, I don't want to be the only one talking up here. Anytime you have a question, please feel free to ask. Okay, so here are the expected work. Readings, there's going to be required readings. That's going to be the online documentation, attendance, challenges, explorations. We're going to talk about explorations. I think you'll really like explorations compared to 2830. We'll have the midterm and final exams. There's not an S on here, so it's just one exam, one midterm, one final, and then one final project. Okay, here's a quiz question. All assignments must be completed by the due date and time to receive credit without any late deductions. Okay, you can submit late work, but it'll be a 25% deduction each day. If you've taken 3330, 2830, you should know this already, but we're reviewing it again because that will be a quiz question. There's actually two quiz questions right there. Can I submit late work? Yes. What's the deduction? 25% per day. Okay, now this is only for challenges, quizzes, explorations, and the final project. Exams cannot be submitted late. Okay, so whenever due date is on that exam, that's the last time you can submit it. Okay, let's see. There's some other stuff that I'm not going over. You should definitely come back and read the syllabus here. There may be a quiz question here. I'm going to go over the most important things that I think although there may be some paragraphs here that I'm missing something. So I'm not going to be able to give you all the answers. I'm going to try to give you most of the answers. So make sure you come back and read the syllabus over again. Okay, here's a quiz question. All late work must be submitted on Canvas, and here's the important part, and regraded by reading day. So let's say we're on challenge 1. You submitted it late because you were trying to get stuff set up or whatever, your internet connection, whatever it may be. You submitted it late. You did good. You only submitted 1 day late, so it should be 25% off. And all of a sudden, we're in the finals week. You forgot about it. We're in finals week. And then you message me, Professor Worgley's challenge 1, you never got it regraded. And then I tell you, well, what's challenge 1? Because we're already on the final project. I don't even remember what challenge 1 was. So when you submit something late, try to stay on top of it. 2 weeks go by. Professor Worgley's, what's going on with my late assignment? I haven't seen it regraded. And I say, oh, we're working on it. We're waiting for so-and-so. And then 2 more weeks go by. Professor Worgley's, what's going on? It's still not graded yet. So make sure you stay on top of your assignments. Okay, what else? We're working our way down. Here's an important part and also a quiz question right here. So it's going to be common for you to use code and resources that are not yours in this class. In fact, I'll probably direct you. I'll say, hey, go over here and use this code. When you do that, that's fine, but you need to reference them. Okay, reference them. How do you reference them? You put a comment in your submission. So you'll say, maybe right at the top of the code that you took, I use this code. It does this. It pulls from an API, and I got it from this URL. Okay, you put the URL there. When we're grading it, we'll go to the URL, check it out, and then come back. So make sure you put the URL there and maybe a short description of what the code's doing. Okay, it should be very clear what is your work and what is not your work. If you take code and try to claim it as your own, then you'll receive a 0 for that assignment. Okay, you'll receive a 0 for that assignment. These references are very important. In addition, okay, all the assignments we're going to check for plagiarism. We have a program that we run things through just like 2830. We check all the submissions in the classroom from previous semesters. It checks things online. So just make sure you're doing the right thing and everything will be okay. Let's see, I talk more about this later in the section, but the assignments are to be worked on individually. The explorations are to be worked on individually, but the final project will actually be a team-based final project. Okay, so that's a thing that a lot of students like for this course. Challenges you should know. Okay, that's from 2830, 3330, you know challenges. Let's talk about exploration. So it's not every other week, so I put every few weeks. It's pretty much every other week. You'll have a chance to explore a topic in web development. This is what I call exploration. However, it's more like a research project. You can pick anything you want to learn. You can run through a series of tutorials. You can look at an API. You can learn a new language. Basically, you're going to further your knowledge in any particular area that you choose. I'll kind of have a baseline. So I'll say, for this exploration, you should learn something with front end. But what you learn for front end can be your choice. You can learn Bootstrap, Materialize. You can look at a new language, look at TypeScript, whatever you want to learn. Okay, so we'll do that pretty much every other week. Now, these research projects, these explorations, they will be graded, but the grade is very loose. So essentially, you need to have a prototype, like a working product. So if you work through a series of tutorials, you should have something to show. You should have built something. And if what you built works, then most likely you'll do good on the exploration. Okay, I have a rubric for explorations on Canvas. You'll see that when we get closer to it. Okay, any questions? Ask in the chat. I'm moving on to the Hack Week project. For the Hack Week project, this is that team-based project that I was talking about. So towards the end of the semester, we spend about 2 weeks, sometimes 3, where you'll form teams, you'll build, it's kind of like if you've ever been to a hackathon, you basically have a weekend to get something working. It's not going to be as stressful as a hackathon, but that's why I call it Hack Week. So you'd be given 1 week, maybe 2 weeks to build something, sometimes 3, depending on where the break lies. But it'll kind of be like a hackathon. You need to quickly get something up. You should not be building stuff from scratch. You should be using APIs, frameworks, libraries. Use everything that you can to build something quickly. If you're building things from scratch, you're not going to get stuff done. I want you to use the tools that are available to you on the web. Okay, let's see. Is this Nick? Nick says, will the explorations replace a challenge for that week, or will we do both? So it will replace. You will either do a challenge or an exploration. You won't do both at the same time. That's a good question. Real quick, grading policy. Quizzes are 10. I used to have the quizzes and challenges together. I actually separated those out. It seems like that will make the grade weight a little bit better for the student. So I have quizzes and challenges separated. You'll see explorations are 20% of the grade. Final project is 20% of the grade. Okay, this final project is usually the make it or break it for your A. So if you do good on the final project, I'm not saying you'll get an A in the class, but usually those who do good on the final project, who put the time in, usually do well in the course. You'll see the final and midterm exam are both 15%. Let's see, Adrian, will you be creating the groups, or will we be responsible for finding a group? I believe I have to look back, but what I believe is the undergraduates need to work together and the graduate students need to work together. So as long as you pick, let's say you're an undergraduate, as long as you pick other undergraduate students, then you can pick anybody. If you can't find a group, then I'll help form the groups. Graduate students need to stick with other graduate students, and the graduate students project will be graded on a different scale. So the graduate student project will be graded much more extensively. So the graduate student project needs to be much more, um, you know, high tech. I don't know what you want to say, but it needs to be much better than the undergraduate students projects. Okay, hopefully that answered your question, Adrian. Let's see, grading disputes. Okay, you can dispute the challenges, you can dispute the quizzes, the explorations, but what you shouldn't do is try to say, hey, Professor Orgles, the TA is having a bad day. He or she gave me a bad grade on purpose, or they don't like me, so they graded unfairly. A proper grade dispute is when I ask for X, Y, and Z, you do Z on line 35, but the TAs took off for that. Okay, so that's a proper grade dispute when you actually clearly have it implemented and the TAs took points off for it. Now, these grade disputes don't last forever. After we release the grade, you have 1 week to dispute the grade. Okay, these are quiz questions here. There's probably 2 or 3 quiz questions on disputes. So what is a dispute? That's a quiz question. You have 1 week to submit the dispute after the grade's been released. That's a quiz question. Last quick question on grading disputes is, when are they due? Okay, so you have that 1 week. 1 week is not when we'll get it done. Okay, it may take us a few weeks to get the dispute completed, but you have 1 week to submit a grade dispute. And then you need to stay on top of it, just like late work. So let's say you submit the dispute properly, 2 weeks go by, nothing's been updated. Send an email. Hey, Professor Worley, what's going on with this dispute? Make sure you stay on top of your grades. Okay, here's a quiz question. Final exam and final project. Oh, wait. Did I tell you this last quiz? So the disputes need to be regraded by reading day. So the late work needs to be regraded by reading day. Disputes need to be regraded by reading day. So that's all. That's for regular semester assignments like challenges. I should have put explorations there. It's not there, but it is counted. So challenges, explorations, quizzes, and the midterm. Now the final project and the final exam are occurring after reading day. So they have a specific date. Okay, it's going to be 48 hours before grades are due. So here's another quiz question. When does the disputes need to be finished for final exam and final project? That's 48 hours before grades are due. Now that date is Sunday, December 15th. Wrong year. Okay, it should be 2020 at 5 p.m. Let me check that date real quick. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah. So it's December 20th. Oh, what does that say? 15? So this is wrong. I need to fix this date. 48 hours before grades are due is correct, but this date should be Sunday, December 20th, 2020 at 5 p.m. So I'll fix that up. After this date, no grade changes will be permitted, and the original grade stands as is for all assignments. I have to get grades submitted by the 22nd. So on December 20th, this says 15, it should be 20th. That's when grades should be finalized. Okay, after that date, I'll usually put in some bonus points for the attendance. If you do the evaluation, there's usually bonus points awarded for the evaluation. And then those are the only changes that are made after December 20th. Real quick, here's a quiz question, no special treatment. One of my biggest pet peeves is at the end of the semester, I've already put in the bonus. I've already tried to help everybody out. And a student comes to me and says, Professor Wergeles, my grade's an 89.2. Can you bump me up to a 90 so I can get an A minus? Okay, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Please do not ask me that. If I've already put the bonus in, whatever the grade lies at, that's where the grade stands. I can't be bumping your grade up. Otherwise, I have to bump everybody's grade up. And then it just becomes an impossible task for me to do. So if I give bonus points, they're going to be given to everyone. And I cannot bump your grade up. So don't even send an email to ask. On more of a fun note, okay, we'll have the Mizzou developer meetings. They're going to be virtually. I kind of wish we were doing them in person because we had free pizza there. And there was Domino's pizza, so it was good pizza. But I can't share food with COVID, and we can't have more than, I think, 5 or 10 people in a room. So we have to do them virtually. So they'll still be at 6 o'clock. We can still eat dinner together, but it'll be online via Zoom. Okay, same link as the lecture. So here's the link. I'll also post announcements on Canvas and Twitter. But, you know, I would say the developer nights are not the same on Zoom because the developer nights, we kind of had little groups forming and everybody was talking at the same time. It's really hard to do that on Zoom. So I do miss the developer meetings in person. But for the lectures, I did receive positive feedback on the lectures, and students tend to like them better on Zoom. Anyway, quiz question right here. When's the developer nights? What time? Where they're going to be hosted at? Okay, let's scroll down. Okay, you need a computer. You need to have internet access. You need to be able to watch YouTube videos. You need a text editor. We'll probably start out using brackets, but I'm going to move to VS Code. You need to have Chrome. All of the assignments will be graded on Chrome. So you can develop it using Safari or whatever you want to use, Firefox. But when you submit it, make sure it looks good on Chrome because that's where the TAs are going to be graded on. It may work on Firefox and then it doesn't work on Chrome. Sorry, we're grading on Chrome. So make sure it works on Chrome. If you're on campus, we have computer labs. If you don't have a computer, let me know. Or maybe your friend doesn't have a computer, whatever, who's taking this class. Your computer breaks, let me know. I could try to help you. I'm not sure what resources we have. I just have to check. Let's see. Let's keep going down. I'm not going to go over all of this. You'll want to review the syllabus on your own. Here's some more quiz questions. Okay, class recordings are not allowed. I'll be recording the lectures and I'll be posting them on YouTube. So I'll get them up quickly. With things being virtual, I can probably get them up really quick compared to in-person lectures, because with in-person, I had to wait till I got back home and I uploaded them in the evenings. Now I can probably upload them right after the lecture. But don't make recordings. I'll record the lectures. You know, in class, I used to say, don't take pictures. Same with this. Don't take pictures of the screen. If you need to, let me know. Put it in the chat, and I'll let you take a screenshot. Just let me know about it. Don't just randomly start taking pictures or recording the lectures. Here's a quiz question. Okay, you have permission to use the materials, but you should not share any class materials. For example, you did challenge too early. Your friend is behind. They're scared of failing the class, and they ask you to share the challenge. You should not do that. Or you graduate. You've graduated. You're on. You got a job. It's a year down the road. Student asks you for the material. You should not send it to them. You should not download the YouTube videos and give them to anybody. So you can use the material, do the challenge, do the right thing, submit the challenge. Don't share your code, don't share your work, because we're going to catch it anyway. You're going to both get a 0. Essentially, do the work for the class, get your good grade, graduate, and that's it. Okay, don't open up the material and share it with others, because I end up finding out about it anyway, and you'll be getting an email from me asking you to take it down from online, asking why you shared it with the following semester. So just don't do it. Okay, don't do it. Just do the work, do the right thing. I always tell students, be cool with me, and I'm going to be cool with you. Okay, here's the kind of a similar thing: academic dishonesty. We're checking for this stuff. We're going to catch it. So just don't cheat, don't plagiarize, don't copy. If you take stuff from online, put a comment there. Make sure we know what's yours and what's not. You'll see here, I am encouraging students to work together. So it's not like, I can't work with anybody. The problem occurs when somebody asks you for the solution. They say, hey, can I look at your code? That's a problem. If a student comes up to you and says, hey, I'm having a really hard time comprehending the lecture, can we go over it? Yeah, you can go over the lecture. Or I have a hard time getting this code to work. Can we talk about it? Sure, talk about it. Talk conceptually about it. The problem occurs when somebody says, hey, can I look at your code? Once they look at your code, there's no way they can write their own code. They may tell you, don't worry, I'll look at your code and I'll definitely write my own. It's impossible. Once they look at your code, it's imprinted in their mind, and there's no way they can come up with another solution. So just do not share your code, okay? Because both students will get a 0. Both students will get reported. Both students are treated equally. If you share your code or if you copy the code, both students are going down. Okay, so just don't do it. You can still work together, just don't share solutions. Okay, if that's not clear, if you wonder if it's cheating or not, ask me before you do something. I had a student last semester or 2 semesters ago, I don't remember, in the past. They said, hey, student asked me for this, can I share it with them? And I said, sure, no problem. And everything was fine. So if you have questions, ask me about it. That'd be the best thing to do. Okay, I'm scrolling over this, although you should read it. Let me get to some more quiz questions. Classroom misconduct. We're on Canvas, so it's still like a classroom. Make sure you're treating other people respectfully, and everything should be good. Okay, don't enter late or leave early. Same as a regular classroom. Just come into the lecture, watch it, turn Facebook off, don't be texting, focus on the lecture, and then respect others in the class. Here's a quiz question. Okay, if any of this occurs, cheating, we're going over cheating quite a bit, cheating, classroom misconduct, whatever it may be, the instructor has the right to ask you to remove from the class. And here's the key thing. The instructor alone, keyword alone, is responsible for assigning a grade in such circumstances as cheating, classroom misconduct, not showing up for class, not turning in your assignments. Okay, so work with me, and the instructor alone is responsible for assigning the grade in those circumstances. That's a quiz question. Here comes another one. Okay, I'm trying to go over this quickly because I want to get to these slides. I want to get to the server, but we got to go over this. So we're almost done. Stick with me here. What is this saying? So this is saying that students, have the right to have opinions about the course. Okay, in some cases, the instructor and the student may not agree with each other. What you should not do is you receive a bad grade on your assignment and you directly go to the chair. So you directly go to the IT director and you say, "Oh, Professor Worgley gave me this bad grade, blah, blah, blah." Or let's say you go to the dean. "Oh, I'm going to go to the dean and I'm going to report Professor Worgley's." Well, once that happens, it's out of my control. I no longer can help you. What would have been easy was if you just come up to me and say, "Hey, Professor Worgley's, I don't agree with that grade." I look at it, I say, "Okay, let me give you these points back. I agree with you." Or maybe I don't agree with you. Maybe I disagree with you, but you should still come discuss it with me first. If you and I cannot reach an agreement, well, then you go up a level. Then you go to talk to the chair. But if you go talk to the chair directly, I can no longer help you. And in most cases, the college will be against the student. The college will be on the side of the instructor. So all this is saying is, come talk to me. I'm on your side. I want to help you. I want you to succeed. If you have any problems with me, the class, the TA, a grade, whatever it may be, come talk to me first, and I'm going to make sure that it gets solved. Okay? Let's see. I think that's it. Long syllabus, a lot of quiz questions there. Any questions? Okay, any questions? There's a lot of information here. You should definitely go back and read it after class. Reading day, that's a good question. Reading day is the Friday before finals week. They call it reading day. What else do they call it? Off day, or what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. I think maybe when I was in school, they called it reading day. Maybe they don't even call it reading day anymore. Stop day. Yeah, that's it. Stop day. It's the finals before finals week. You're not supposed to have any classes so students can prepare. Well, usually for my class, that's the day students are finalizing their projects. So it's the Fridays before finals week. That's when the final projects due. Or no, actually, the final projects due earlier for this class. So let's go over here. I have this nice challenge schedule table. Let's take a look at that real quick. Usually the final project's due on reading day. If I said it was due on reading day, I apologize. That's actually not right. Here is the proper schedule. Okay, I'm going to release the first quiz after class today. Okay, today's August 25th. I'm going to release the first quiz. It's going to be due on Friday. This says Thursday. This is actually just a simplified view so you can kind of get an overall idea for when the challenges are going to be posted and when they're going to be due. If you want exact dates, scroll down. So challenge quiz 0 starts today. It's due on Friday. The last day to submit it late is on Monday. When the grading will be due is on Monday. And then the last day to dispute the grade will be the following Monday. So you have 1 week, just like it says in the syllabus. So 7 days later. Challenge 1, I'm going to release it this weekend. Quiz 1, I'm going to release it this weekend. They'll be due Friday, the 4th. Last day to submit late, so you have 3 days basically, because on the 4th you'll get a 0, because that's 100% deduction. You could still submit it. So technically you could still submit it. This should say last day to submit late to receive a grade. You can still submit it after this date. It's just you won't really get a grade. You can get some feedback from us to see if you did it right, but you won't be able to get points. Usually for challenges, we get the grading done within 1 week, although sometimes that varies. And then you have 1 week from that date to dispute. So if you ever, for any challenge, come to this table, look and see, is it past the last day to submit? And look to see, is it past the last day to dispute the grade? Okay, this will be a very good table, very useful. So you'll see we have 2 challenges at the beginning, then an exploration, then another challenge, and an exploration, then the midterm, then challenge, exploration, 2 more challenges. Then we'll do the Hack Week project. That's the final project. You'll see it starts November 8th, due November 20th. So you have about 2 weeks. Because usually it says Sunday here. This means by Sunday. I'll actually usually try to get them up on Saturday. This is kind of the latest that it should be posted. I'll usually try to post them up on Saturday. But anyway, 2 weeks for the final project. We come back from break. You can't see it here, but we come back from break. You have we'll present the final project. There's a presentation. You'll present them in class, I guess on Zoom. And then on the last week, we'll have exploration 4. That's the last exploration, and that's due on reading day. So here's reading day. Reading day is that deadline for grade disputes and late work. And then here's that December 20th. That's the deadline for final project and final exam disputes, and grades are due on the 22nd. Okay, this table should help. If you see anything wrong, let me know. For example, the syllabus said December 15th. If you see stuff wrong like that, let me know in the course email. Okay, let's see. I'm calling you Rayma. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry if I said that wrong. Should we upload the quiz as a document? Is there a specific format? The quiz will be on Canvas. You will select your answers on Canvas and then click submit. So it's kind of an electronic format. So don't worry about the quiz. The challenges have specific formats. If you remember, I said we're going to be using GitHub Classroom. I don't think that'll start on challenge 1. It may start on exploration 1. I can't remember. I'll have to look. But you'll for submitting on GitHub, we'll have a specific format. So the challenges and explorations have a format. The quizzes will not. Francisco, did you say the explorations will be built on each other, or will it be something different each time for us to work on? So don't quote me on this, but I think exploration 1 is front end. Exploration 2 is back end. So what you could do is you could build a front end, and then you can build on top of that and build a back end for it. You could build on top of them, or you could say, I'm going to learn this front end, I'm going to learn this back end. There's no relationship. It's all up to you. All I tell you is front end and back end, and then you get to decide. Now, if you've built them on top of each other, that may be a good way to do it, because then at the end, you may have an app or something built that you can show an employer. So maybe you use Materialize as the front end, and then for the back end, you look at Firebase. and then all of a sudden at the end of the semester you've built a nice app, you get a grade on it, and you could use it for an employer. So I actually recommend you do that. That's a good idea, Francisco. Okay. Yuan says, can I ask about the prerequisite class? I have never taken one of the prerequisite classes, and this class is totally new for me. Is it possible to know any online lectures or materials I should watch so I can handle the homework and project? Thank you. Yun, you should send me an email. On Thursday, I'm going to hop into Amazon AWS, and I'm assuming you took 2830 and you remember how to do it. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just I'm assuming you know how to do it already. So there may be some small details that I forget to go over because I went over them in 2830. I do have some videos. Send me an email in the course email, CS4830, and I'll set you up with that material. I'm a little wondering how you registered for the class, but because it should block you out of the class, but that's okay. Send me an email. We'll get you set up. Good question. Okay, where are we at on time? We're at 4:30. We got 15 minutes. Let's go over my presentation. So I'm going to show you. Let me go back over here. Okay, I'm going to show you just kind of what I want you to do. So this, you already learned about the explorations. You kind of know this is more of a research-based course. I want you to look into frameworks. I don't want you to build stuff from scratch. So for 2830, we build everything from scratch. We used raw HTML. We used raw CSS. We built, vanilla JavaScript, just raw JavaScript. We looked at jQuery. We built AJAX requests from scratch. Then we looked at PHP. We built everything by hand. And our web pages looked like it. If you go back to 2830, some of the web pages we built, they looked like the early 2000s, And for this course, I don't want you to do that. I want you to look at frameworks. I want you to look at libraries. I want you to use APIs. Don't build anything from scratch if you can avoid it. In some cases, you have to build from scratch, but if you can try to use frameworks, libraries, tools, APIs, anything you can get your hands on, that's what I'm looking for in this class. So one of them is called RevealJS. So let's take a look at it. Okay, here's RevealJS. It's essentially a JavaScript library or framework that helps you build PowerPoints or presentations for online. Now, what's cool about this is if I'm doing a presentation, I can send the link out. If it's on a server, I can send the link out to everybody in the room, and they can follow along on their local machine, on their own machine. With a PowerPoint, I'm kind of standing up in front of the room and everybody's looking at my screen. So this is very useful if you're doing presentations in the industry. Okay, so here's my reveal.js. Let me refresh it. Let me make sure I'm starting here. Okay, so it's let's build a web application. I'm going to give you an overview for how this course is going to feel. So let's check out Reveal. So you see these nice controls. I can go left, right. You can also do up and down. So what editor do you guys use? Okay, what editor do you guys use? You've learned editors from me. What's your favorite editor? Okay, brackets, VS Code. Oh, let's see. Somebody says I can only still see Canvas on your screen. Sublime, Atom, very good. Those are good. Can you guys see this PowerPoint? IntelliJ is good. Very good, Matthew. I guess it's not a PowerPoint. This is
my favorite editor is Vim.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard that.
I'm kidding.
I know. But you know what's funny is I had a professor, he was old school, and all he used was Vim. And he knew all the shortcuts.
Gilliam's.
Yeah. No, it was at Mizzou.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't at Mizzou, but it's probably similar. It was at my other school. but he loved Vim, and all he used was Vim. He knew all the shortcuts, and I'm telling you what, he could probably code just as fast as I could on, I don't know, Eclipse, whatever you use. So if you know the shortcuts on Vim, that's good, but not too many people use Vim anymore.
Plugins, though.
Well, I like plugins. I like plugins for sure. Let's see. Okay, we got some answers. Let's take a look. So a lot of you hit the ones that I'm going to show you. I got brackets here, Sublime. You got Atom and VS Code. Okay, so these are popular ones. What I'm trying to do is show you how much there is to learn and how much time we have to learn it. So that's editors. But look at the big list. So on an exploration, you could try to use Atom. You could try to use Sublime. Maybe you haven't used VS Code. For those of you who've taken 3330, you remember NetBeans. Okay, most people don't like NetBeans. You can do Eclipse, IntelliJ. That's a good one. There's a bunch of text editors. We got PHP Edit, Slim Text, PS Pad, PHP Designer, Vim. For those of you who said Vim, Text Wrangler. Look at all these text editors. So there's so much that you can explore just in text editors. Let's move on. What languages do you speak? Okay, what's some programming languages that you guys use? Any favorite programming languages? C Sharp, Swift, Python, Java. Okay, Swift again, Python, React. Good. We're going to look at React. You can do that on exploration. C++. Okay, let's see. Francisco had a question. Will you be mostly using VS Code while teaching the lectures? We're going to start out with just a basic editor. Once we start connected to the server, VS Code has some nice plugins there that you could use, but you don't have to use VS Code. Also, we're going to look at Angular. We're going to look at Angular, and some people build React apps. So Angular works out really nicely in VS Code. So when we get into Angular and when we have our servers up, we'll start using VS Code more. Okay, a lot of you hit the languages, so don't forget about the basics. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that's 2830. Let's take a look at the others. Don't forget about PHP. I know a lot of people don't like it, but if you look at Facebook, they use PHP. What's that other one? Not Instagram. It's that other one where they have like buckets and stuff like that. What's that one called? Oh, Pinterest. Sorry, Pinterest. Facebook, Pinterest, they're all still using PHP. I got a quick story to tell you, although we're running out of time. I'll say it really quickly. The guy from Pinterest, the CEO, the founder, he built Pinterest using MongoDB. This was when MongoDB first came out. It's a lot better now. 2 a.m, the site broke. He went online to see how to fix it. He searched MongoDB tutorials. Nothing popped up. In just a few days, he rebuilt the whole site using PHP and MySQL. Okay, so that's just a common LAMP stack. Again, a few months later, site broke down 2 a.m. He looked up how to fix it with MySQL. Thousands of articles popped up. So he said, even though MongoDB's new, it's the newest technique, technique to use for databases. He said MySQL is tried and true. PHP is tried and true. He said our site is reliable. So don't forget about PHP. I know what people are saying on the streets. Don't forget about it. But here's others. So we learned that in 2030. You can look at ASP.NET. You can look at Go. We're going to be learning TypeScript. Some students look at Ruby. You can use R. You can do data analytics in your explorations. You can do Angular, React. These aren't really languages. We're going to get to frameworks here in a little bit. We got Groovy. Bunch of languages here that you could look at. Okay, you can do Python. You can look at Python, build websites with Python. What about libraries, frameworks? Any libraries and frameworks that you guys like to use? What's your favorite framework? What's your favorite web library or web API? Anybody? React? Okay. Ooh, Django. That's a good one to do on an exploration. Never heard of that one. Code Igniter. Okay. Let's see. What do I got here? Don't forget about jQuery. That's 2830. Bootstrap. Google APIs. We're going to look at Firebase, Ionic, Materialize. These are just some of the basic ones. We got more. Okay, look at this. Node.js, Express, PM2, Sales. We're going to look at Google Authentication, Google Analytics. You can sync up to Google Maps, Google Drive, YouTube. You can embed YouTube videos. Okay, there's so many. There you go, Flask. I know a lot of people look at Flask. That's there in the chat. Ruby on Rails. There's so many libraries, APIs that are involved with web. If you're a web developer, and I wish I could tell you more stories, but in the industry right now, they are firing machine learning engineers. They're firing data analytics. Why? In Silicon Valley, they call that the icing on top. That's the cherry on top. Okay, you don't need a cherry on top of your ice cream to eat ice cream. If you want to eat ice cream, you can just eat some regular ice cream. So what's the core? The core is web development, mobile app development, database, database administration, security. These are all the jobs that are stable even during the pandemic. But all my friends who are in Silicon Valley, machine learning engineers getting fired, that's a cherry on top. Data scientists, that's a cherry on top. You don't need research and development to run your business, but you do need a website. You do need an app. You do need a database. So full stack development is a very demanding job, and it's very secure because it's part of the core. We're not even getting started. You could look at the Facebook API, Twitter API, Twilio. I'm probably saying some of these wrong. RevealJS, Django, just like somebody said in the chat, pure CSS. What am I missing? Ember, Knockout, Angular, React, Ionic. I don't know if anybody's heard of Ionic, pure CSS. Okay, there's so many frameworks, APIs, technologies that we could learn in this class and that we're going to learn in this class. We're going to take a look at a lot of these. What about the data? Okay, what's your favorite database? Where does the data live? If you were to build a web app right now, what database would you choose? MySQL, okay, good. MySQL, good. Postgres, okay. SQLite, good. Somebody's making mobile apps, SQLite. What about non-SQL databases? What's your favorite non-SQL database? MongoDB, that's what I'm looking for. So here's PostgreSQL. What about others? Oracle, I know that's an old one. People still use it. MySQL, MongoDB. Nobody said Firebase. Oh, somebody did say Firebase. Good job, Jack. Firebase, Firestore, SQLite, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL Server on a Windows server. Okay, there's so many databases that we're going to look at. And we're going to look at MySQL. We're going to look at MongoDB, and we're going to look at Firestore. So we're going to look at all three of those databases. And SQLite, it's not required, but it's optional to use on the mobile apps we're going to create this semester. Okay, we're going to create mobile applications this semester. And you can use SQLite. How do you deploy your code? Okay, we're just touching the surface. We could go on all day. We're almost done. How would you deploy your code? where you get to host your code, where you get to publish your code. Come on, don't leave me hanging. Containers, okay. Linux Ubuntu. Where's Linux Ubuntu? On your local machine? Where's that? Linux Ubuntu on your local machine. There we go. AWS. There we go. That's only one of them. We got AWS, Azure, Linode, GoDaddy, DigitalOcean, Microsoft, IIS servers. Okay. So many. Oh, look, here's GitHub. You can do GitHub IO. Okay. So many places that you can host your server. So these can be explorations. We're going to look at AWS. We're going to use DigitalOcean. But maybe you want to look at some of the others, Azure. Maybe you want to go to GoDaddy. Check that out. You're definitely free to do that. And there's so many that you can use. Anything else? Like I said, we're just scratching the surface. What version control do you use? What protocols? What browsers? What extensions? What SEO practices do you do? What security? How do you authenticate your users? What scalability practices do you use? Do you make mobile web apps? How do you exchange data? How do you design the website? Do you have any documentation? How do you write documentation? So I have 30 lectures, okay? And each lecture is 75 minutes. We're about to run out of time on that 75 minutes. I'm almost done. Stick with me. So I have about 2,200 minutes of class time. We just went over about 253 topics. I actually added about 10, so about 260 topics. And we have 220 minutes. So that roughly gives me about 8.9 minutes, probably a little bit less now, 8.5 minutes per topic that I can spend in class if we wanted to go over all of these. Okay, if we wanted to go over all of these. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much time I have, how quick we're going to be moving in this class, and how much you need to explore on your own. I'm going to give you a baseline to start, and you need to go and read documentation. You need to get very familiar with documentation. But what's cool is we're going to cover a lot of topics, and these topics are going to help you get a job in the industry. So, who's ready to build a web app? Okay, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be building web apps, mobile apps. Everybody's ready. Okay, good. I'm glad to see that, Jeffrey. I'm glad to see that, Kyle. Okay, I didn't get a chance to go over AWS. We're going to look at that on Thursday. Get dual monitors set up. Okay, have dual monitors set up if you can. Some way where you can look at my screen and you can code on your screen. On Thursday, I'm going to go over the, maybe not the entire, let's say 80 or 90% of the first challenge. So if you can follow along with me on Thursday, you'll already have the first challenge completed. We're going to set up a Amazon, AWS, Ubuntu, LAMP stack. Okay, we're going to do that on Thursday. That's all for today. I'll stay here for a few minutes if anybody has questions. Otherwise, you're free to go. Actually, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's get the attendance. Hold on. Let me type the word attendance. Okay, put your name and paw print in on the chat. I'll get you for the attendance for today. After you do that, you're free to go. We'll see you on class or online on Thursday. Remember to have your environment set up so you can follow along. That's it for today. I'll stay here for a few minutes if you have questions. Otherwise, we'll see you online on Thursday. Okay, make sure you put your name and paw print on the chat. And that's it for today.